It's the first Friday of a new month, which you guys know what that means. It is time to talk about all of the fantastic manga that I read the month before. And yeah, even the ones I didn't super love, we're spotlighting all of the manga, all the manhwa. Hello friends, happy Friday. So very excited that you're here. We're going to be talking about all of the manga today. No spoilers, of course, but there will be a lot because I realized this morning I read 37 volumes of manga manhwa and I was just like, it didn't feel like I read that much. But I think I read that much last month because I was sick, I think at the beginning of March. And so I started a new series at that time and then I read another series later. And it was just a really, really good month of reading. I did unfortunately drop a few things, which always really hurts. I'm not gonna lie, I don't love dropping things. I know people are like, embrace the dropping, and I mean, I will embrace it to a degree, but it's not usually fun to drop those things. So I didn't read anything digital. I still am reading The Remarried Empress, and I'm loving it so much. I feel so much more compassion for Rashida. It's really hard with things that are happening. It's like the happier Navier gets, the more crazy, unhinged Rashida gets. And if you're like, well, she's already pretty unhinged, like if you're reading the physicals, yes, that is very true. That is very valid, but it gets worse. And I just feel bad for her. I just feel bad for her, but I'm so incredibly happy for Navier. The joy that has been on her face, the happiness that has been reflected in just how happy she is everything. I'm loving it so, so much. I did, when I looked at webtoons, I did read, I think like 2 chapters in Morgana and Oz at the beginning of the month, but when I found out that the season 2 is about to be ending in about 10 episodes, I was like, I think we're gonna let it pile up. And it's been really, really hard. I think the creator is on hiatus this week or just taking a break to focus, I think she said, like on thumbnails and such. So there was no new episode this week, but I'm 2 episodes behind and I'm just like, I'm not ready for it to end. I really did enjoy what I read. It was quite the plot twist. Oh, I wish the chapters were so much longer. So technically those are the only 2 digital things I've been reading. I've super been debating to pick up another webtoon or like manhwa online, but I know me, as soon as I start reading and I fall head over heels, that's it. I'm not gonna read anything else, but I have some really great recommendations that people have given me, just sort of waiting for that right moment. I thought about even going on K-Manga and seeing what's on there, but nothing has really been biting at me when it comes to digital stuff right now, so I said, okay, I think my brain's just focusing on catching up on my physical TBR, which is definitely what I did this past month. But before I dive in saying what I read, like I said before, I read 37 things. 3 of those things I did sell off, and one of them is Sleepy Princess in the Demon King's Castle, or the Demon's Castle. I really enjoyed the manga. It was the first thing I read last month, but I love the anime so much more. I think it's just because the anime is so bright and so colorful, and I love hearing all the voices like of our main girl, just all of the people in the castle. I really enjoyed it, but I did decide to sell it off mainly because I just felt that I was going to stick with the anime, not because I disliked the manga, but I knew that I wasn't going to collect the rest of it. The second thing that I sold off, and I unfortunately did drop this one, and I have to look at my computer for the full title, and that is The Alchemist Who Survived Now Dreams of a Quiet City Life. I was really excited about this one. This is one of the few Josie releases from Yen Press, and it was a struggle. The art is stunning. It's very beautiful, but I really struggled to connect with this manga. It just felt, I'm hesitant to use the word boring, but I could not finish it. I'm trying to remember like if I felt it was boring, and I don't think I did. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. I just know I didn't love it, and I unfortunately decided to sell this one off, even though I was just so stoked for it. I think it's a great manga if you're looking for something that's very deep fantasy, because it's not an isekai, even though the main girl, things happen in this world, and she basically puts herself to sleep for like, I think it was like 100 years, and then she wakes up and her world is completely different now, because before she fell asleep, there was a lot of monsters, and now there's not as many monsters, I guess. I don't really remember, to be honest, because yeah, it was just a really hard struggle. So that was a huge bummer. I'm sorry, I can't say much more on that one, except for I struggled. The last one that I didn't actually sell this one. I gave it to a friend because it was gifted to me, and I just did not feel comfortable selling this to make money, and that was Kaze Hikaru Volume 1. My friend Maeve and I were gonna buddy read this together. She was so sweet and sent me some of the volumes, and we both read Volume 1, and neither of us enjoyed it at all. all. It was a hard struggle to also get through this one. In fact, if I wasn't buddy reading with Maeve, I would have dropped it significantly sooner. I read the whole thing, but it was a struggle. I felt very lost when it came to the historical aspect, the politics. I was like, I'm in over my head right now. I didn't know who really any of the people were. There was a very uncomfortable scene where another man pushes himself upon her, and he didn't care if she was male, female. I mean, he didn't know that she was a female, but it was just very uncomfortable, and I did not like this scene at all. Tried reading ahead to volume 2, and I was not vibing with it. I was not connecting with the story at all. So I decided to give this series, or the volumes that I had, to a friend who loves and adores the series. And I was just like, hey, if you could just pay for shipping, they're all yours. And I'm just overjoyed for her because she was ecstatic that she has them. Praise God, it went to someone who absolutely loves the series and was just really, really excited. So I know it's in good and better hands than it would have been in my own hands. So yeah, those were the 3, unfortunately, that I dropped. But again, with the Sleepy Princess one, it wasn't because I disliked it. It was just because I knew that I would just stick with the anime. So now we'll go on to the series volumes that I read. But for the first big series, I was so excited. I finally read Love Me, Love Me Not by Iwasaki Saka, volumes 1 through 12, I believe. Yeah, volumes 1 through 12. It was amazing. I did a video review. I won't talk extensively about this one, but I loved it so much. I definitely feel this is my favorite series by Iwasaki Saka. I deeply, immensely enjoyed this. Even when I was having some like extreme brain fog due to some medicine that I was taking at the time and being sick, I teared up, I cried, I laughed, I felt so many emotions with this series. Very much love these characters. I love Yuna. Yuna has been added to my list of characters that I just felt like I saw myself on page. I deeply related to her and was so happy that everybody had a great ending, and really just bummed that I've read it all, in the sense there's no more volumes for me to pick up anymore, like that this is the end. But it's definitely one I'm going to come back and reread. This was and is my favorite read, or this was my favorite read of March. I immensely enjoyed it. There was one other series that came very close to being my favorite read, but it just could not beat Love Me, Love Me Not, because this one, I loved it. I loved it so very much. So if you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on it, definitely check out the review. The next thing I read was volume 3 of Mr. Villain's Day Off. I believe I read this for Marguerite's Manga, her live stream that she did. Yes, because we talked about, is this a green background, because the theme was green covers, and I really enjoyed this. This was so sweet. I mean, the series, and I think it was in this volume specifically, it can be wrapped up of that in saying that pandas once again have saved Earth. They've saved humans from something bad happening to them, and there's just a plenty of cute shenanigans. I very much enjoyed it. I did not expect to tear up at the last chapter though, because there was surprising heart to this volume that was like, okay, that really tugged at my heartstrings and made me feel some emotions there. I'm very thankful that my friend Danielle more or less gifted this series, or this volume, to me, and I'm so glad she did, because I was sort of unsure if I could continue it, because the volumes are a little bit pricier for the small amount that you get, but it's always worth it. So I was glad I was able to continue, and very much looking forward to volume 4. This is pretty shocking to say, but I actually read a novel for the first time in a really long time. I think it's been a year, and I read Ellen McGinty's, I think I said her last name right, Saints and Monsters, excuse me, I forgot about the S. This was amazing. I read this all in one day. And I was shocked because I was really excited to read her latest book that's out, Saints and Monsters, because the last time I read a novel was one of her novels that is soon to be published. I'm not sure when, but it will be. And I loved it. I read that book in 2 days. And so I was a little bit nervous that since then, since all I've read is manga, I was like, I don't know if I can read this like quickly. I wasn't looking to read it fast, but I thought it would take me a week at least. And then to read it in a day blew my mind. But once I started, I could not stop reading. I mean, it was literally the only thing I could think about. Like, if I had to put it down, I was like, okay, what do I think is going to happen next? What is going to happen with the princess? I loved it from start to finish. It was a strong 5 stars. I really appreciate the message of that we all have worth, that you don't need to be perfect, that you could even be broken and still be worthy of love, of just worthy. You can be worthy. And I really, really enjoyed that, because I have have struggled with self-worth for a large part of my life. And so seeing the Princess Mira, I think is how you say her name, seeing her struggles and how she just felt so unworthy, that she was so broken and incomplete that she could never even know what that was to feel like, was very relatable to me and just very encouraging to see how she overcame these obstacles, these crazy trials that were thrown at her by these water dragons, which were epic. Like, if you need some water dragons, some water serpents, and just Asian mythology based dragons, this book is it. It delivered so much when it came to the world building. I mean, the whole thing delivered, but I especially really enjoyed that part. I really loved a lot of the messages that were in this just story overall. I love the characters. Team Casimir, he was amazing. I was on that hype train from the beginning to the end. I cannot wait to see him in book 2. That's all I'll say. I can't say anything else because I'll actually give spoilers, but I really, really enjoyed this. And I just was shocked how fast, again, I read it. The only character I struggled with at first is the character nicknamed Dragon. And I was just like, oh, it's like this guy. I was like, he's just being so brutal and he comes across sort of mean. And I'm just like, get out the way and let Casimir come and steal the show. But that is okay. But I would highly recommend it. I will leave a link to the author's Instagram down below if you want to go learn more about it, see what other people are saying. I've been really excited that a lot of people have said that once they started, they just could not stop reading because it's a beautiful story of love and finding your worth and, well, not discovering your worth and realizing that you do have worth as a human being and seeing people overcome some crazy odds against these dragons that would just take them down in an instant. And here they are fighting them with swords and stuff. And I'm like, dude, you're amazing. You're amazing, because I would not have that kind of bravery to be in your kind of situation. The ending had a really great twist that I loved it. I mean, Princess Mira, she just goes to show that she's an incredible heroine, and have deeply appreciated and thankful that I was able to read this. Thank you, shout out to Ellen, because she sent me a copy, her and her publisher did. It's gonna be one that I'll come back to and definitely will stay on my shelf because I'm not buying novels really anymore. I mean, I do have the Twisted Wonderland novel. I'm definitely buying that one. I think I just pre-ordered it last night, but that is the only novel that's been like hardcore on my radar that I'm like, yes, I will get, because I'm just not reading them as much. But I would also recommend her other her other novel that she has called The Water Child. Very, very good. I don't remember if I've actually left a review of that book on this channel. If I have, I will leave it in the corner. If I didn't, then I sadly won't. But yes, highly recommend. Very excited that I read this. Okay, technically I could not read this, but I looked at the pictures, and that has to be enough because I read Haikyuu 33.5. This was the bonus goodie manga that was given to the moviegoers in Japan, and I saw it on sale for a really good price on this one website that I've shopped for, and I loved it so much. I didn't even look up to see how, like, what things were being said, but I loved it. I loved it. I spammed hard on Instagram how much I enjoyed this. It was wonderful. I laughed and I smiled the entire thing through it. It was such a joy. It was such a delight, and I'm so glad that I have it because I thought it would be a lot more expensive and didn't actually pick it up in the end, or thought I wasn't going to pick it up in the end, but I did. And shout to Brandon and Shay Geeks Out Discord chat or group, because he was the one who said how much of a deal it was, and he was right. I am so happy. I'm so happy. I just had to show you guys. And we got storyboards from Sensei, and that was really, really cool. I really enjoyed seeing this. I loved it all from start to finish, and this one I think just had, some other bonus things that I could not read, but I looked at the pictures and I loved them all. It was wonderful, and very, very excited for us to finally eventually get the movie in English. We need it. We need the movie to come stateside, so hopefully it does. But again, I'm so thankful I have this. Eventually, I will use Google Translate to translate everything and what it says, because I loved it so much. And we even had Inu from Nekoma, and I was so glad because he's one of my favorite characters in Haikyuu, and I feel like he's just not getting enough like screen time, page time since Lev joined. And Lev's great too, but Inu I really, really, really like him. So this was wonderful. I would highly recommend if you love haiku and you want to see what this booklet is about, this is one I would highly recommend. It was worth the price, I think, for shipping, and the volume itself, it was like $20. So I was like overjoyed that it was not like $30 like I originally expected. So this was so, so great. I loved it. Next up, I read volume 4 of I'm Giving the Disgrace, Noble Lady I Rescued, a Crash Course in Naughtiness. I always have to look at the title when I say this because I never know if I'll get it right, just say it off the top of my head. I really, really enjoyed this volume. I love seeing Charlotte just thrive as an individual and how supportive Alan is of her. I also really enjoy that with every volume, we always meet a different and new person. And sometimes they're like a different species. We'd meet, I guess, a different kind of race this volume. And that was really, really exciting. Maybe race is the right word instead of species, but I still really enjoyed that a lot. I love how things are moving forward when it comes to the romance. I mean, nothing's quite happening, but I feel like potentially soon it could be happening, and I'm 100% here for it. But definitely the beginning was very heartbreaking because you finally see just how bad things were for Charlotte before she met Alan. It was so brutal, and I'm just like, Charlotte, you deserve the world, and I'm really glad that Alan is in her life and showing her she can genuinely be happy and make decisions for herself for her own happiness. I hope things go smoothly in the next volume because how it ended was super sweet, and I'm super here for it. I continue to deeply enjoy this series so very much. I wish it wasn't underrated because it's just so much fun, and I can't wait to see what happens next because I will be getting the next volume. This was definitely one of my favorite reads this month as well, and that was Twisted Wonderland, the manga volume 3. I do want to mention though, I did do an art book like unboxing and flip through of the French edition. This was like the exclusive little bonus goodie that came with the French manga, and it was so much fun. So if you need something that has like all my rambles and you want to see the beautiful art of these characters, definitely go check it out. I had so much fun filming that video and just really, really loved it. Very much looking forward to the official art book that's coming out in October, and it's like a deluxe edition. We'll be getting that. Very, very excited. But I loved this volume 3. It was so intense. The manga has been amazing. I've loved every volume thus far, but volume 3 like raised the stakes. Like everything felt more intense, more emotional, more darker, more richer in just everything, and I was 100% here for it. I have a new appreciation for Ace's character because Ace was not afraid to call out Riddle. At first, when I played the game, I was like, dude, you just throw so much shade around, and I felt like a love-hate relationship with him. But in the manga, I was like, dude, I don't think you're necessarily always throwing shade. You're just really blunt and not afraid to say what's on your mind, and he really gives Riddle a piece of his mind. And let's just say Riddle does not handle it well at all. Riddle changes in this volume. If you played the game, then you know what I mean, and it was everything. The art just highlights all of the awesomeness of the game and brings it to life in a completely new way. I mean, it's still the same story, but it hits differently, and I feel like for probably the last quarter or so, I could not stop reading. I could not stop reading. It definitely gives a little bit of horror vibes. This is not a horror manga, but it does have those vibes with what's going on here. And yeah, I could just not stop reading. And as soon as it arrived, I was going to read I think it was Like a Butterfly volume 5, which was the next thing I read, but I was going to read that first. But then once Twisted Wonderland came, we are reading, and I was just so glued and immersed in this. I was trying to eat lunch, and I was like, forget it, I'm not eating lunch right now. My food got cold. I'm like, we're just going to read this volume and find out what happens next. Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah, it ended on quite a big cliffhanger. I know it's going to come because I played the game, but I'm still eagerly looking forward to it. If you are a fan of the game, you need to read the manga. It is perfection. I think you will greatly love it. If you have not played the game, I know a few friends who've tried this and just couldn't connect with it the same. I'm hesitant to say to give it 2 volumes, but I do feel like the first volume may be a little bit confusing. It didn't bother me, and I do have a review up if you would like to have a breakdown of volume 1 of what my thoughts were as a fan of the game and as someone who may not be familiar with the game, what I feel they will feel when it comes to the manga. But it was so good. Absolutely loved it. And then, as I said, I did read Like a Butterfly volume 5. I really, really enjoyed this volume. We have progress. Things are happening, and it was super sweet. And I love this idea of having this manga where these two characters are head over heels for each other, but they don't know, well, one of them, they're like, what is dating? What does dating looks like? And I thought that a really interesting question and a really interesting take for a manga that I have personally not seen before. Even though there were times where I'm like, like, just go for it. I feel like it fits the characters so incredibly well, and I just really appreciate the slow burn, the awkwardness, sometimes the secondhand embarrassment of these two. It is very, very wholesome and just very sweet, and I love how our main girl's friends, well, both of them, these are both a Flower's friend, but I especially love this girl. She's the best friend, and she's just so supportive, and I love how, you know, she could be a friend that gets super jealous and super upset about things because the dynamics have changed a little bit, but she doesn't. She's still cheering on her best friend, and even though there's times where she's like, I miss us walking home together, for example, she's still cheering on for her, and I just really appreciate that, and I definitely hope that she has her own happy ending. It doesn't have to necessarily be romantically, but I definitely do hope that she has one, and just how both of these girls are encouraging our main girl. It was very, very sweet, very precious. Cannot wait to see what happens next, because there were some things that happened, and it was just really, really wonderful. Continuing to deeply love this series as well. This is a series I definitely keep loving, and that is the Centric Doctor of the Moonflower Kingdom, Volume 5. This was everything. I actually really appreciate how, for Kyoyo, we saw a little bit of a backstory, and I'm very curious how this is going to affect things moving forward in this sense, maybe not for the story itself, but for us, the reader. I'm like, what happened? We're getting like these very small snippets where something went down, something bad happened. We don't know the full extent of it though, because it'll be like somebody talks to them and it interrupts their train of thought. And I'm like, I need to know. I need to know what's going down. I loved the beginning of this volume so much. Please, if you love the Apothecary Diaries, give this manga a chance. I feel like it has a lot of similar vibes, different setting, but Kyoyo and Mamo have a lot of similarities. They're both very eccentric, and I adore this manga. It's so much fun. I thought it interesting. There was one chapter, it was very political, and I was like, this isn't over my head. I don't know what's going on. I was like, please break it down for my simple little mind, because I don't know what's going down outside of that chapter, because I still give it 5 stars. I'm like, that's just me. I struggle with politics a lot in manga, like even if it's short-lived. I really like the second half where we're getting into a new arc, and it does feel more politically driven, but I was able to get and understand everything that was happening, and there wasn't like a lot of details where I need to know this face, you know what this face said, like, whew, please, that's where I'm getting lost. That's where I'm getting lost. So it didn't have that. And we're seeing a new change of setting, surprisingly. And I'm like, okay, this is the first time we've seen more of what's going on with the prince and what he's doing behind the scenes. And I'm like, Kyoyo, what are you going to do now, girl? What are you going to do now? Because previous volume, she opened up her new clinic. Things are not going exactly as she planned, but she does have a certain client, and it was just absolute gold between them two. I hope that character makes a comeback. I need to see them again, and Kyoyo and their reactions, because Kyoyo just, it goes over her head, but for that guy, he just gets really mad and really upset, and I'm like, I love it. I love it. So definitely a strong 5 out of 5 stars. Continue to deeply love this series. It's one of my favorite series of like shoujo manga that's ongoing. Shout out to the person that asked if I would review this series. Yes, I was very excited to see your comment. I have to decide when, because I love it so much, and I would love for people to pick it up and hopefully enjoy it just as much as I do. Again, it's one of my favorites and deeply, deeply love. I felt a little bit of mixed feelings on this one, and that is Dark Moon, The Blood Altar Volume 2. So I read Volume 1, I gushed about how much I loved it. It's not a groundbreaking story, but I really, really was engaged. I love the vampires and the werewolves and how things were unfolding. Suha, our main girl, I think I said her name right, she had a strong head on her shoulders. Volume 2 picks up right where Volume 1 ended. We're back in that explosive action, and then things just sort of went, I don't know, I just felt like things went differently. Felt really conflicted on this volume. I loved it a lot. Like, the action scenes are so incredibly good. Suha is finding out things, and there was literally a page where I'm like, don't turn the page, Laura. If I don't turn the page, our main girl will not have to know a thing, a big thing. And I just sat there like, I don't want to turn it. And I did, and I was like, this is an epic fallout of the biggest proportions for this series right now. And it was really good, and I felt really bad because Suha, she's got a lot that she's struggling with, and I did like how we have this past character that's making a comeback, and they are causing some problems, but Suha doesn't quite see this yet. But I guess I felt like this volume overall was just all over the place, and I felt like Suha, I get that she's a very emotional driven character, and like that's not a bash or knock to her, but I loved how she had a good head on her shoulders in the volume 1, and this one, she just, because of a dream that she has, she gets herself into a dangerous dangerous situation, or what could have been a dangerous situation. And I didn't understand why she did that. You know better. You know that everybody says not to do this, but you're like, it's going to be okay. I need to have answers. And I get that she needs to have answers. I do. But I didn't like that. I didn't like that. And at the end, I'm really shipping Suwa with a certain character. I feel that's going to happen maybe, but I don't like how it's going about it. And so I felt conflicted on that. I'm going to give this another volume because I definitely had a very enjoyable experience overall. I read this manhwa within an hour, which is very rare for me. I hardly read that fast in general, but to read manhwa that fast is an exception. I do not do that often at all. I was definitely gasping a lot and I was like, oh my gosh, I fell on the edge of my seat. So overall, it was a really good experience and I felt extremely engaged with the story, but I just didn't like how Suwa was acting at certain points and then how it just felt like, okay, Suwa is here and now suddenly she's over here and now she's here. And I'm like, how are we getting from point A to point B and now we're at point F? Like, how is that happening? So there were a few confusing parts for me, but I do want to continue the series. So still nothing groundbreaking, but I still had an overall good time reading it and we'll be getting volume 3 to see if I'll still like it and want to keep going. Also see how Suwa's going to react to the fallout that happens, how she's going to react to other people with knowing certain things, if this one character who caused so much chaos, if he's going to come back on the scene and how it's just going to change everything, because surely it's going to change stuff and I need to know how it's going to change things. Oh my goodness, Imakoi Volume 9, it ended and I didn't love this volume as much as I've loved previous volumes. I thought it was a good and strong ending, but it was a little bit spicy. It was a little bit spicy and I didn't realize that the rating went from teen to older teen for this volume. I liked overall how it ended. I guess I felt like I wanted more in the moment, but also I will say that when I read this, it really hit me hard that not only was this series that I've deeply loved, it's one of my favorite shoujo series, that it was ending, but also that the creator had a note in the sidebar saying this would be her last work, maybe forever. And I was so crushed for her, even though she was leaving like on positive terms. It was her choice. She just wanted to pursue other hobbies. It just felt like a chapter was really coming to an end. And I feel like that really overshadowed my enjoyment of the overall volume itself, because I have since gone back and reread it and I did like it. I definitely wanted more of Satomi and Yagyu. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I'm here for them, guys. I am here for them. I am not here for Miria and Noda. They're a good couple, but I'm here for Yagyu and Satomi. It all came down to that. So I wish we would have gotten more of that rather than like and we did get them, but like I felt like it was a focus on high school ending. I did love how it was an open-ended kind of ending. Like I got that closure that I needed, but it was also open-ended in the sense like, okay, I can imagine where things will go and still be happy with that. But I guess I wanted more fluffy romance. That's what I wanted. I wanted less stressing about high school exams and where they're going to go to college. I wanted less stressing about that and more sweet kisses and more sweet romantic moments, because I just felt like there wasn't quite as much of that as I expected. Is this a good ending? Yes. Do I still recommend the series? Yes, but keep in mind about that spice at the final volume, because that wasn't in the other volumes and it definitely was at this last volume. So just keep that in mind, but I still love it. I will definitely keep it in my collection. We'll be rereading again because I just adore Satomi and Yagyu, and I really love how they were looking at their future. That was one of my favorite parts of this volume for sure, and how they're gonna stay rock solid together. It was very beautiful in that regard. Very much love that. So we'll be coming back. I think my feelings will feel differently once that sadness fades, that this is over and I won't be able to get any more because there's just no more. Next up is some more high school romance, and that's volume 5 of Honey Lemon Soda. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that I sort of low-key buddy read this volume with my friend Kara. She messaged me and she's like, oh my goodness, you need to read the latest volume. We need to talk. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna start it tonight. And I did. And I was like, Kara! Like, what is happening right now? Like, oh my goodness. It was a very good volume, and I'm always surprised because I always love the previous volume. Like, I don't think the next volume could top that. No, it does every single time. This volume was so much more emotional. There's a lot of things, not a lot of things, but there's one thing that is going down, and I get it from one character's point of view, but I'm like, you're wrong. You're wrong, person. And then I get it from Yuka's view as well, and my heart goes out to her. I I don't even know what to say about this volume because of the things that are happening and took place. But I'm just like, why can't this character see? Let me see if they mention who it is. Okay, they do. It's the father. He's an overprotective father. Very, very overprotective. At least I get from where he's coming from. But I'm like, do you not see how happy Yuka is now? Do you not see how happy her friends are making her? You need to look past the looks of her friends and see the joy that's on Yuka's face. And I don't feel like he's doing that. And so I'm cheering hard for Yuka. She's been so brave and making these huge steps. And I think one of the quotes I said in my Goodreads review was how her classmates are like, our class would not be the same without you. I feel like it's so true. Like, things are so different. She's impacted so many people around her, just being herself, just willing to be brave and, you know, go out there and make friends. And the way that she confronted her bullies at one point, I'm like, girl, you're amazing. I could never do that ever. I really admire her. And so I know things are going to be okay because Yuka, every time she's being brave and, like I said, just making those small steps forward, though I feel like with her dad that things are going to be so much harder. I love how these two are just precious little beans. They're precious little beans. I love it. I love it so much. That's all I'm going to say because I don't want to give spoilers, but it's a very good volume, continues to get better and better. And I'm like, I need volume 6 like yesterday. I need to know what's going to happen next. A big manga that I read and that you guys actually voted for me to read was Josie, the Tiger and the Fish. This is like I think it's a 2-in-1, but they have it as a one-shot in English. This was amazing. I did a video review of it, so I'm not going to talk like in depth about this, but it was a very emotional story and I was deeply engaged. I mean, every time, like sort of like how Saints and Monsters was, where if I had to put it down, this was all I could think about. I couldn't think about anything else. I was thinking about when can I pick it up again and see what's going to happen. And I feel like every time I was putting it down, something bad was happening in the story. And I'm like, are you serious right now? Are you serious? Like, I need to know. And I have to go, you know, I would read like in my kids' car line waiting for them to get out of school. And I'm like, I have to physically drive. I cannot drive and read. And I'm just like, but it was amazing. A very heartfelt story. I would highly recommend it if you're looking for a one-shot, and the art is incredible. If you want more details, definitely check out that review, but this is one I would highly recommend. Very wonderful story. And thank you to everyone who voted for this for me to read and review. I'm so glad that I did. Wish I would have read it sooner. It is another series, or excuse me, another volume I will definitely be coming back to and rereading again because it was so impactful. Really admired a lot of things, a lot of the choices that people made and how they were stepping out and being brave when things were just so hard. Lots of brave decisions and brave characters, and definitely would highly recommend. Oh man, I am so excited to talk about this one. So this was my second favorite read of the month, and that is Primitive Boyfriend volumes 1 through 3. I buddy read this series with my friend Jordan. It was amazing. Oh my goodness, guys. I have a video review coming out next week. I am so excited. I never expected for this series to be as engaging as it was. I fell head over heels. Couldn't stop reading this. I loved our main girl, Mito. She is so cool. She's so cool. She has a gray head on her shoulders as well. The way that she made decisions, I mean, I couldn't even imagine. Like this volume, specifically volume 2, gave me so much anxiety because so many things and creatures and animals are coming at her. And I'm just like, girl, I don't know if you're going to make it to the end. I don't know if you're going to make it to the end. This is a giant crocodile that's coming at you. And it just felt like nonstop danger was coming towards her. Very, very excited for that video review because I cried at the end of this. And I have reread the ending of this volume specifically 3 or 4 times and cried every single time. It was so moving. And the way each of the volumes were brought together in this final volume was everything. I never expected, again, that I would be reading a romance with a guy like this and just be head over heels. I mean, I was invested every single volume. So please stay tuned for my thoughts on this series. It may seem like, Laura, what did you just read? This is like weird. There's no series like this that I've ever read. There's no series like this I've ever seen, but it was amazing. It was beautiful and heartfelt and wonderful. I just cannot wait for that review to come out. I will be editing the video here shortly to make sure it's up and ready because I'm like, I need people people to know about this series. I will definitely be coming back to reread this in the future. That is just how much I loved it and enjoyed it. It was awesome. It was so good. Another series that I read, I was so excited. I've waited 4 years to read this series, and that is The Girl with the Saku Eyes, Volume 5, released earlier this week, and it's here, or last week I mean, but it's here, Volumes 1 through 5. This is a colored manga by Dempa. I did do a video review last week. I enjoyed it so much. This was so cute, so fluffy, so adorable. I loved every moment of it. I was not the biggest fan of Volume 4. I still really liked it, but it was the only volume I didn't give 5 stars because I just didn't feel I was on cloud 9 like I was the rest of the series, because literally every volume I was on cloud 9. I was giggling, I was squealing, I was overjoyed, I was so happy. I was like, I feel like my heart's about to explode, but I'm okay with that because I want to keep seeing the cuteness and the sweetness unfold. Definitely check out this series. It is so wonderful. The 4 years that I waited to read this, worth the wait. Check out that video. I loved it so much. It is a beautiful manga. It's so fun. This is another one I'll be coming back to reread again in the future because I was just so incredibly happy when I read it. I was a little bit bummed about this one, and that is I Want to Be a Receptionist in This Magical World, Volume 3. I really enjoyed Volumes 1 and 2, but this one just did not hit the same for me, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because we're stepping into a new arc or if there was just something else that wasn't clicking with, because I'm like, finally our two are together on page a lot more often, and we are seeing their banter. This is sort of like a student rivals to lovers kind of thing. Well, they're not students anymore. They are adults now, but I have enjoyed it thus far, but this volume just wasn't the same. I really don't know what it is. I just didn't love it quite the same as I've loved the other two. I did decide that I am going to try Volume 4 to see if things will be differently because of the author's note at the end, or the artist's note at the end, because it's not a bad story or anything. I really love our main girl, and again, I love the banter between her and Rockman, who is the guy here. I love it. It's amazing, and it's really funny and makes me happy when I read, and Nunley as well, of seeing her achieve the goals and the dreams that she has. I'm 100% rooting for that, and I want to see that happen and unfold in her life. So I want to give it one more volume and just see, maybe it was just this volume, since I really loved Volumes 1 and 2. There's still nothing really happening with the romance though. Maybe that's where I feel a little bit disappointed, because I'm like, they're on page a lot, but Nunley just isn't seeing it, and not like Rockman's being bold, but I do feel like certain things he has said make it very obvious that he cares for her romantically. So I don't know. Not really sure what else to say about this one. I did like it overall. Wasn't my favorite, but I'm going to give Volume 4 a chance to see if I'll feel differently. This one I liked. I didn't super love it as much as the first 2 volumes, and that's Even Dogs Go to Other Worlds, Life in Another World with My Beloved Hound. It was super cute. I really enjoyed this manga. I wouldn't say I loved it or it was amazing or anything, but I did really like it, and I'm glad that I got this volume because it was fun to see. I don't know if fun is the right word. There were some stakes involved, but it was just really cool to see how this giant dog, who was a little small poodle basically in its past life, is really thriving in this world and saves the day. This is a dog manga that just makes you happy. There are some low-key stakes that happen, but it's nothing that is too dangerous or causes a lot of like anxiety like Primitive Boyfriend did. There's not really any of that. And I do like Takumi, who is the guy back here. I continue to like him as a hero. I feel like there's a little bit of romantic inkling. Like, I really like Claire. She's really sweet, and it's sort of funny because why has nobody said that Claire should marry Takumi? Because she's getting all of these like wedding or like marriage proposals, like her father's passing down the letters of marriage proposals, and I'm like, well, if she wants those to stop, just marry Takumi, whom she seems to like. I don't know about like romantically, but I'm like, they're good friends at least, and it would solve one of their dilemmas. How things ended, I'm hoping that that will actually come up in conversation in the next volume. So this was sweet. I don't have much to say. I really liked what I read, but I'm like, it's just chill and easygoing, and I enjoyed it because it was those things. And last but not least, I read Yusatoki Volume 6. Oh my goodness, I love this series so much. This was a wonderful volume. Super enjoyed it. I really liked how things unfolded in this volume. and how Kaneko just shined. If I could say it in a nutshell, and it'd be a non-spoiler nutshell, the creator said she wanted to have a detective story or like a mystery story, but without the detective being the main hero. And that is basically what happens in this volume. And it was really, really good. There is a character from the previous volume that shows up for a large part of this volume. And I'm like, who are you? And what are you doing? What are you saying? He just dropped a bomb off at the end, like not literally, figuratively. And then he leaves. And I'm like, do you know what you just said? Like, how is this going to affect Hanako? I'm very concerned, trying not to be worried, but very excited for things that are to come. We see a little bit of the backstory, not really backstory, but we get to see a little bit more of Mr. Iwai's life and people related to him. I'm like, are we going to see more of that? Because I am very, very curious as well. The opening chapter was a little bit sad. It was a little bit sad. It didn't necessarily involve Kaneko and our detective here, but it did involve another friend of theirs. And I was just like, he's such a good character. He's such a good character. So this was a really, really good volume. Deeply loving and enjoying this series. I thought the mystery was really well done in this one. Really love how everything just clicked together eventually for Kaneko, and then she got it, and then she never gave up because, girl, that was hard. That was hard what she was going through. I ain't gonna lie, that was hard. And so it was great. It was wonderful. One of my favorite quotes that came to mind, because after things happen, Kaneko sort of just claps, but in a good way. And this person says, it's amazing, isn't it? The power of belief, because Kaneko always believed that Mr. Iwai, that because he was framed, that she believed in his innocence and that he didn't commit the crime that he was being framed for. And so when everything came together, I definitely got a little bit emotional myself. We'll be getting the next volume because I loved it. But that is everything that I read last month. Lots of good things. Very excited for a lot of these series to continue and get the next volume because I need answers for many of these. And yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I would love to know, what did you read last month? Did I read any of your favorites? Please let me know. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. And my daughter wanted me to show this cute little kitty card that she has. It is a diamond cat, and she wanted me to just show you guys. So here I am, remembering to show you guys. So there she is. So again, thank you so much for watching. Bye!